I have quite a lot of experience, but I'm coming back to the beginnings. Now I'm trying to have discussions in Croatia with people for whom I haven't discussed for 20 years. Because of you, madam, because of you, because you were the stick to beat the Croatian people, wielded by Americans, by whatever in the West. And that's the stuff they were saying. The essential problem is it possible to make the first step to get these people here and those people there to talk to each other?
Let me make a comment. If a personal comment, because I'm so committed to this process, it's frustrating to me to hear that it's not possible. African Americans in the United States were held as slaves for, what, 200 years, over 200 years. They weren't even named in the United States Constitution. There were no civil rights laws until the 60s, really, 1960s, not 1860s. But yet, and that's the problem, the term reconciliation, let's set that aside a moment, but that doesn't mean that people can't coexist. That doesn't mean they can't coexist. You can change people's behaviors. Their attitudes may remain the same, but you're telling me there's no coming together that's possible? Members of the tribunal respond to his comment. Somebody had their hand up. Here, Ms. Kersler. Okay, go on, Mirko, because you didn't have much of an intervention.
Samo jedno.
Just something, an event or something that the hero of which is Judge MacDonald. It will be very short. In 1999, before leaving the tribunal, Judge MacDonald visited the detention unit and discussed or talked with the prisoners, detainees, about the mandate of the tribunal. And this is how Goran Jelisic interpreted this, a man who was sentenced to 40 years because of Brčko case, and he said that in testimony during the trial of Esad Lancha. So this is what he said at the sentencing hearing. Judge MacDonald, who was at the time president of the tribunal, visited us, and she told us that this institution, the tribunal, must contribute to the reconciliation in our countries in the former Yugoslavia. And we discussed this issue seriously among ourselves, and we have concluded that we have finally managed to gain this reconciliation between ourselves here, but I'm wondering what's going to be happening in the country.
Mr. Jelisic prepared cocoa for me and gave it to me, so that's some sort of dialogue. What I'm saying is you can behave, you can relate on the issues you can relate. Yes, Natasha. And then we're coming right back here. Anybody? Back there. There's a young woman back there. Go on, Natasha. And then you, real quick.
Iako se čini da danas ovdje ima puno neprijatelja.
Although it seems that there is a lot of hostility here, but if all of us here in the hall, representatives of association and organization in the region, if we would ask them, are they opposed to establishing facts? Are they opposed to establishing all facts about all victims and recognition of all victims? I'm sure that nobody would say, no, I'm against that. So there is one thing that it's in interests of all of us, and that should be our starting point. We should then use the legacy of the tribunal to build something that's important for us, both for the victims and the future itself.
Here and
Ana Holjevac iz Hrvatske, Centar Domovinskog rata.
Ana Holjevac from Croatia, the Center of Homeland War. I would like to comment on the statement by Ms. Kandic about the institution of a regional body that would be listing the victims. I'm from the Center of the Homeland War, which is a government body that's collecting and publishing all the materials created during the Homeland War. I would like to say that our center, together with the Association of Missing and Detained Persons, of the Ministry of Republic of Croatia is compiling a list of all such victims, both because of respect for the victims and because of making sure that we need to bring out to the public whatever has happened, which was the problem with the Second World War. I would like to say that we are open for cooperation. Croatia has already done a lot of the work. There's about 12,000 victims that are registered, both Croatian defenders and civilians who were victims of JNA aggression and Serbian and Montenegrin forces. I would also like to say that there is material coming from the Serb sources that was created by the work of the Serbian paramilitary bodies in the course of the occupation in 95 and 92. And the center has made a list of about 5,000 missing or detained persons that are at least listed as such. And I would also like to add that this is administration for detained and missing persons have found 143 mass graves and 1,200 graves of the Serbian aggression. I would like to say that as far as the regional body is concerned that will be listing the victims, I would like to say just that, and part of the job in Croatia has been already concluded, but we are open for any cooperation with regional centers and non-governmental associations. Thank you.
Ms. Vesna.
Samo kratko.
Just briefly, establishment of facts had to be worked on both in individual countries and regionally. That has to be done simultaneously. I do not see why would a discussion of crimes in past in one country should prevent such a discussion being carried out on a regional level, why one thing would not support the other. This cooperation that we are already seeing on collecting data of missing and killed persons, which is part of the work of the associations, is something that helps us get closer to determining the facts and thereby reducing the space for manipulation.
Mirko, and I'm going to ask the audience to respond to what Mirko might say. The media, because I don't know what he's going to say, the media played a major role in the start of the war, a responsibility. The media had a responsibility. That's the way I want to put it. What's the role of the media now, particularly as it relates to what's being said in the audience? And that is, it's not possible. Reconciliation is not possible. You know, we look at our situation, they look at theirs, that sort of thing. What's the role of the media, and see if you can relate to some of the questions that we've heard.
Primarily, when we're discussing the media, their responsibility for what had happened in the countries of former Yugoslavia is something that I think has had a major importance, maybe the second on the list. They are after politicians and before the generals, because the generals had to follow orders, whereas journalists did it on their own accord. Media's contributed to war. It was a nuclear generator of hate, which brought about the crimes. The hatred was a precondition for the crimes, so to speak. Media did not give support to this tribunal, with the exception of few independent ones existing in the countries of former Yugoslavia. I happened to work for one of them. It was I worked for Borba from Belgrade. There was also Federal Tribune and some Bosnian newspapers, but throughout tribunal didn't enjoy any support by the local media until 2000. Until the changes in Serbia and Croatia, people at the helm of the media were the people who were servants to the regime and who instigated hate. I believe the tribunal made a mistake of underestimating the role of journalists in creating conditions for commission of war crimes. Today we have the media that are what they are. Some of them follow the political instructions of the leaders, whereas the other segment is basically being horrendously commercialized. I have been at several meetings where people said that there is no interest among the audience to follow the public hearings at the ICTY, but public media are not here to see what's more commercially valid, Sex and the City or the ICTY. They have a very clear function. But all this, it's too early for all this. The changes are only now coming up. These societies we're talking about are in a transitional period, not only as far as the laws are concerned, but in every respect. In the next generation, things will settle down, and then it will be a good moment to talk about what had the tribunal achieved, what are the factual and legal conclusions, what evidence is available. I believe I am here to see the tribunal out, but me and my team are preparing ourselves to continue talking about the tribunal after the tribunal will have been closed, because we have the fabulous material that will be used that we've collected through the 15 years of work.
Well, yes.
My name is Tea Gorjans Prelević. I am the director for